Hello guys, Megan Ryan JC, and today what I want to be talking about are tarot cards. Yeah, or the tarot cards, Aleister Crowley tarot cards, there are also fairy tarot cards and angel tarot cards. But most importantly, what I want to be discussing in this video is how you could actually read your own tarot cards, because a lot of people have them. A lot of people have seen other people online, like myself. Well, not myself online using tarot cards, but other people have seen me in real life using tarot cards, okay, in this non-virtual reality. Well, dang it. A lot of people have seen me here in 3D using tarot cards, and they asked me how to do it. I've also got a friend who decided to buy a pack, and that's really what inspired me to make this video. I'm going to teach her how to do it through this lens, so hopefully she'll see this. Yeah. But anyone else out there who wants to learn how to do it, just keep watching and I'll tell you how, okay? Now, first off, I want to talk about the psychology behind. And when I say psychology, a lot of people think, oh, it's going to go logic. Logic isn't what I want out of this. I want to know about magic. I want to know about the mind. Well, you see, mind is consciousness. Consciousness, which is used in a certain way, is logic. Because logic really is just structured consciousness. So let me tell you guys how it works. Okay, so basically it's like this. When it comes to a personal reading, when the practitioner has the card out in front of them and they're looking at you after you've shuffled the deck, really what they're doing is, well, they're able to tune into you and they're able to interpret based upon possibly a series of questions they've asked you beforehand, how this card could symbolize what you're going through within your life, okay? It always helps when the person or the practitioner doing the reading knows the person they're doing the reading on. Okay? Because then they're able to decipher the imagery depicted on the card. That's where the magic kind of ties in. Okay? Magi. The magician dealing with the imagination. We're a nation of people who use their imaginations. Okay? And that's what we're doing here. We're using our consciousness which resides within our imaginations. The same consciousness which deals with our decision making and how we assimilate our life, the actions we take, the people we keep around, and the things that we manifest due to our actions. Okay. So why is it practitioners ask others to shuffle the deck instead of themselves? Well, it's because of energy, vibration, resonancy. And it's also about numerology, how many times you shuffle, the position of your hands, okay, which hand you're shuffling in predominantly, okay, how you're doing the indie shuffle, all these different little subtle hand movements attached with the energy signature that you're emitting out into the cards actually changes which cards pop up, okay? It literally alters the probability of that person getting certain cards. Now, if you've heard about this experiment before, you'll understand what I'm talking about. When I say, when you look at matter, when you look at anything, even a game, you actually change the probability just because you're observing that structure of matter or that reality construct. Okay, scientists in the lab actually did this. You can look it up. They managed to scientifically measure the subtle differences in matter when a person is looking at the object and when they're not looking at the object. Numerous experiments have also been done pertaining to probability, increasing your chances of, well, winning the lottery, winning coin tosses. And if you've seen my video on how to predict the future, I also talk about how you could actually tap into parallel probabilities in order to increase your chance of winning certain things, such as the lottery, or maybe little games with your friends. So when a person is observing anything, it changes the vibrational signature of anything that they are holding or anything that they are involved with. Okay? This is why when the person is holding the deck and they're shaking the deck, they're shuffling the deck, and they're focusing their intent on what they want out of the deck, that is changing the probability of them getting the cards that match the vibrational signature of the answers that they want. Now, where are these answers coming from? Okay, now you've all heard about the higher self. Some people like to call it the intuition. Okay, well, from my understanding, from what I know from going in to out, I don't read many books. Actually, I pretty much don't read any book. The only book I have read was to deal with self-development, was to deal with how to project your voice and how to speak clearly so that everyone could hear you. That's the only book I've read, okay? And despite that, a lot of people are asking me where I'm getting my information from. Well, I'm integrated fully with my intuition, this part of myself which a lot of people call their higher self. Now, this higher self, this subconscious dormant aspect of your psyche, is actually in tune with everything. Even if you cannot understand it with your logical mind, your, I guess, abyssal mind, this part of you that is so deep within you, is actually connected with everything. It understands how it's connected with everything, and it understands how to create and manifest in, well, many different ways, which again are very incomprehensible to a lot of people who aren't used to operating within that abyssal mind. They're only used to operating with their ordinary mind, which deals with logic, which deals with what you've seen other people comprehend. And then you take their information and you try to make sense out of certain things in ways which have worked before, because other people have used those ways in order to make sense out of something. Okay? That is why it's hard to figure something out, because you're using someone else's mind. Technically, you're using their logic. But when you go inward, when you go into your intuition, that's an inner knowing. You just know how everything's pulled together because, well, subconsciously you are pulling together every facet of your reality. Okay, now the person who was creating each individual tarot card had a specific intent in mind. Okay? You could do this yourself, actually. It's very easy. Say, for example, you want to draw an image, any image that depicted a death of a character, your character, and you're remembering the moments within your life where your character has changed. Okay? Maybe your friends disappeared and they came in. Maybe the friends that came in were like vultures, they were stealing from you. Okay? When you're thinking all of these things, your energy internally is going to resonate in a certain way, which will make you come up with the specific imagery needed in order to depict what you're feeling and thinking on that card. So maybe if you feel resentment, maybe if you feel like you've been stolen from by people who you used to trust in, well, then a certain color is going to come up. Maybe it's a dark murky yellow. So how would you do that in, well, a card form? Well, what if you moved away from your country where those people used to reside? Well, then you'd put a bridge, right? And that bridge may come from a person's memory of them driving over a bridge. And maybe because, their friends acted like vultures, they would draw vultures in the top hand corner of the card. It's pretty much like that. It's really simple. Now, depending on how complicated you make the card will depend on how universal the card or the tarot deck will be. Here's the thing. If you go too specific, then you'll only be creating your own tarot deck. Now, there are some advantages in doing so, and I'll probably make a new video on that at some point. Remind me, because it's really important. But if you make your own tarot deck, okay, then because you've noticed, because you've become aware of certain patterns within your life, certain people who keep coming in, even if they're different people, but they're carrying the same persona, the same energy, Maybe you've just finally gotten rid of somebody who was a complete annoyance, a nuisance within your life. And then somebody else comes in and they kind of look similar and they're carrying the same energy, right? All the while they'll start picking at you until eventually they take the other person's place. If you were to write down everything, all these little things that you're picking up on, if you were to become hyper aware of your reality, and then you made your own tarot deck, when you're shuffling the cards, if you want to know what's going to happen next month down the line within your life, and then you resonate at that frequency, I want to know what's going to happen. What you're actually doing there is you're channeling probability into the cards that you made, your own custom cards, which are actual representations of things that actually happen within your life, that keep happening within your life. And then you'll be able to predict if those members of society or if those circumstances are going to pop up again within your near future. Actually, you know what? You'll probably piece together how to do this anyway, so you don't need to remind me about making that other video. That was a big Easter egg right there. So the person who has now shuffled the cards after being given the deck by the practitioner has held the intent to find something out, to know something. The deck has been strategically created in such a way that pretty much anyone can use the deck and get something out of it. Maybe the person who created it from the patterns that they saw within other people's lives around them, not just an individual life like themselves, okay? So whoever created it knew exactly what they were doing. So they've stared at the deck, they've collapsed reality, they've now manipulated which cards are going to show up first. And then they start to lay out the cards on the floor, past, present, and future. Now here's where it gets really important, because the practitioner can read the card, especially if the practitioner is an empath, a high-level empath, be it at best, okay? So the empath is going to read your card. And the way they read it is they don't just read, it may say the moon at the bottom and an X and an I, Roman numerals. But they'll read the color, they'll read the imagery, but most importantly, they'll create a connection with themselves, the person in front of them, and the card. So they'll start to feel into your energy, which will then give them a sense of how you're feeling emotionally. And because of the information that person has given them, they're able to accurately see the card, feel her emotion, feel the story behind where they're coming from. They want to know if they're going to get a better job. They'll feel their current state of being, which gave them their previous job. It will come through and they'll see it in the card. Okay, they'll see the future reality in the card. Again, it's solely determined on probability, which is influenced by energy. Okay, consciousness. Your consciousness collapses reality. It collapses your circumstances. It will pull certain things into existence. Things that have already shown up in cycles, meaning they'll come up over and over again, and things that come up for a moment, then they disappear, but then they'll come up again at some point. Now, it's still magical. Okay, it's still magical because you don't always need to get all this information beforehand, before you have a reading. Some of the time, depending on who's doing the reading, they could be, like I said, a high-level telepath. Now, difference between a high-level telepath and a normal telepath, I'm saying telepath, I mean empath. Technically the same thing, it's just information from a distance. That's what tele means, information from a distance. You're feeling emotion, information from a distance. More than just emotion, by the way. High-level empaths can feel and see and hear auditory stimulations, meaning they can hear another person's voice inside of their head. They could hear the memories inside of another person's head. They can see the memories inside of another person's head. And they could also adequately feel the emotions that reside within a person's body that are attached to said memories within another person's head. So we don't always have to hear your life story before we do the draw, or before we hand you the cards. Sometimes we don't even have to ask you what your intention is here. Sometimes you just get given the cards and you shuffle them and we stand there. By the way, high-level empaths, we pretty much figure everything out about you within the first few seconds of seeing you, sometimes before we've even met you. And that's because we're multi-dimensional beings. We don't just see forwards and backwards in time. Matter of fact, we don't see forwards and backwards in time because we don't have that linear perspective. We have a larger perspective, a parallel perspective. We see multiple realities. Therefore, we see things before they happen, i.e. we see you come to us before you come to us. So we know what you're going to ask and we know what the outcome's going to be. But really, our participation is just for your experience. It's just to let you know where you're heading, where you're currently at in your state of mind, your state of being, because you can't see the future. You need help from certain people, okay? People who can do that. So we do readings like this, and I'm a high-level empath among many other things. I can see people. It's one of the reasons why I don't like to touch people, because I get images from them. I get emotions. I can feel their habits. I feel too much. I get too much information outside of feeling as well, because when I say feeling, I don't just mean emotion. Everything you go through, psychologically, emotionally, physically, how you sit there and you think about all of your thoughts, imagine feeling that from somebody else. It's like you are them. That's the best way I can put it. So when you've got a practitioner, that's what they're doing there. They're making that connection between you, themselves, and the deck that you've now collapsed. And I keep saying collapse. Let me just reiterate. When I mean collapse, I mean every time you observe something, it changes the outcome to what you want, or at least to what you're expecting based upon how you're resonating at that present point of time. Resonating mean how you're thinking, how you're predicting certain events within your future literally collapses reality itself so that it aligns you with that expected desire or fear in some cases. Okay? Now, let's go really deep into this, okay? Because I've told you the basics when it comes to the imagery on the card, color schemes on the card, okay? Maybe even people on the card who are in some weird positions which depict uncomfortability within your life, struggle, okay? And I've told you the dynamic process of how many people can actually relate to one card, or at least an entire deck. And I've also told you how you could also write your own cards and create your own decks, which I actually encourage you guys to do. That would be a cool project, okay? Now I'm going to tell you how your entire reality is literally a tarot deck. Think about it. Everything around you has color. The walls have color. This color here even represents something within my life. Color on the walls here, the white and the black. Even objects, things with corners, things which have significances within your environment, inside of, I guess, a chalice. There are cups with chalices, right? And they're drinking water from the chalice. And in that cup, it may signify everlasting life or beauty because it's a clear water in a gold chalice. Or maybe it's a silver chalice, which depicts, alongside with the color blue behind it, stable mental focus, okay? This is a light for one of my cameras. What's it got to do with the chalice and so forth? Well, it's plastic, hard plastic, which means it's good quality. Not a paid sponsor. The lights here signify rays of light. Now, this could mean many things. When I'm looking at it again, I'm feeling into me what it means. My intuition, which is me. And I know, now I'm going back to a memory within my life. This was a big turning point within my life. This is when I actually took my stuff seriously, my business and these videos. So that's what that represents, okay? If you're able to go outside of your house and you're able to see double digits, you see double digits on a tarot card. You'll see double digits in your life. That's depicting to you, if it's resonating with you, something you need to express, some sort of information you need to find out. Okay, and I say express because this information is inside of you. That's why it's resonating so much, because it feels like it's familiar. However, a lot of people don't go into themselves to discover why it is these numbers have such a significance within their life. They prefer to look it up on Google and on Bing, maybe Yahoo. That's what resonancy means. It's like, okay, I think I know you. You keep showing up in my life. Let me Google it for a second, you see? Rather than just going into that part of them that thinks they know them and then discovering why it is that person keeps showing up, okay? So what you do is you leave your house. You look at the buildings, you look at the structures, you look at the color palette of your reality. And then you sit with that knowing that looks familiar, that just understands why you're there, and then you decode it. Okay, you feel into it the same way you'll decode a tarot card, or you'll look at it. You'll just do that with your external reality. Now I invite you again to make your own tarot card. You can make a deck if you want, but just make one card so that you understand how to read imagery on that card when it comes to your energy internally. Then buy a deck of cards, okay? Do the exact same thing, read the deck with your own energy. Then go outside and read your environment in correspondence to your own energy, okay? Let me tell you something, guys. This is better than a two-dimensional piece of card. You're literally looking at this third-dimensional play, which is playing out right in front of you, showing you everything about your life. And if you're aware as to how to decode the things around you, you'll be aware as to how to decode your external tarot deck. Okay, everything's changing. Every room is different. Every step you take on the road in front of you, there is always something that changes around you. That's a new card. Okay, you can get real specific. But hey, this is just what I do. I actually discovered this on my own. Strange, huh? Obviously, I was listening to my intuition, which now is me, and I was in my hospital, and I was looking at the billboards, and there was a card there that said, "Just ask," and it was in relation to my, I guess, unwillingness to speak to people. Or, in other words, I was just shy in the sense that when they would say something to me, I would always predict a response that I was uncomfortable with. Or at least I would always predict me being in an uncomfortable situation that I didn't want anything to do with. And then I'd be like, okay, I don't want to ask them anything because then they might ask me about this or that or what I do for a living. And back then I wasn't really secure in who I was, you know. Not like I am now. Now I'm telling everyone about everything about me. So, yeah, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. That is how you do it. That is how you read tarot cards. That is how you create your own tarot cards. That is how people read your own future, past and present. Okay, dealing with high-level empaths and how they're gaining your information, and dealing with normal empaths and how they need a little bit of help when it comes to you giving them extra information. And this is also how to decode your entire reality as a tarot deck. Head on over to Ryan Cropper's Friends. It's literally a Facebook group where all of us can speak. It's a closed group, meaning no matter what you post in that group, it will not show up on your news feed to your pre-existing number of friends within your normal Facebook profile, which is great. It's great. I'm Ryan JC, Ryan James Cropper. It's been good speaking to you guys. It's been a while. I'll speak to you guys pretty soon. Peace.